Hey everyone, it's Jeannie, and today I'm sharing this card that is Easter themed featuring Pretty Pink Posh's Easter Wreath stamp and die set and the floral background stencil. So I went into this card knowing that I wanted to do a tone on tone card, but I wanted to use no line ink. I stamped the Easter wreath using fade out ink on Bristol mixed media paper. I'm gonna place the floral background stencil right on top of it and go in and blend a rainbow array of colors. So I decided to use the brushes to do the ink blending instead of my blending tool because I wanted a really soft look, kind of pastel-y, to match the Easter theme, spring theme kind of card. Once I did that, I will remove it and you will see the Easter wreath underneath. And the cool thing about fade out ink is that it absorbs the colors that you put on top of it. So you kind of see like within each of the images in each of the color palettes, you can see that like it turns blue or it turns purple. It's really cool. So I go in with a journaling pen just to map out like the smaller areas that I wouldn't be using a Copic marker for because it's either a brush tip or the marker tip and it just wouldn't work. Like it would be kind of cool if Copic had like ballpoint tips for certain things, but probably not. Anyway, so for each of the color areas, I wanted to match it with the stenciled area. So any area that's pink, I'm going to be using a pink combination. Any area that's purple, I'm going to be using a purple combination. And I've started listing out my Copic combinations or Copic colors at the bottom left-hand part of the screen. And so if you are interested in a rainbow array of my go-to Copic combinations, they are all here. They'll also be listed down below. These are my tried and true go-to color combinations for each color of the rainbow, and these are colors that I've used consistently over the past few years ever since I started collecting Copic markers. And so you definitely do not need like all the markers of the Copic collection. I definitely don't have that, and I tend to fall back on these. So these are the ones that like I buy refills for, the ones that like I just am comfortable with. If you're looking to start out a new set or just looking for new combinations and these aren't already it, definitely write them down. You'll also notice that with the smaller images, you would think that no line coloring would be a little bit more difficult, but it was easier to color with no line coloring because the images were so small. There's not that many details that you have to worry about with the shading. So with the coloring here, with my darkest color, I usually go in and just kind of mark out the details and the shading areas and kind of outlining versus actually coloring, which kind of is cool because it makes it a little bit easier, because when you have a bigger image, there's all these different details, there's shading that you have to account for and all of that. But because these images are smaller, you kind of are just outlining with your darkest color and then blending it out to the lightest. And you definitely can use like 2 markers for this, and I'm comfortable with 3, so that's usually what I'll do, even if the image is really small. And I think it does add the dimension. So if you have never no line colored before, try it here. Just use your darker color to outline the image a little bit and then blend it out with the 2 next colors. So I do think that with no line coloring, it really makes it pop off of this panel. Do go in with the darkest color of each combination at the end just to like clean up the details just a little bit more so the images pop. So some of it, because they're so small, blended really well with each other, and you kind of lose like the details. Like on the egg with the polka dots, like you don't really see it. Like right now you can see the blue pops out, but the orange egg on the top of the screen, you can't really see the circles. So by going in with your darker marker and adding that outline again, it just really makes the image look more detailed. And you definitely don't have to do this. It's just I had the markers out, so I was going to go ahead and do it. Once I was finished with the coloring, I pulled out the Easter wreath coordinating die, and this one was really hard to like match up, but a trick to figure out like how it matches up is to look at where the eggs are and the round areas of the die, and that actually really helped me with figuring out where or how to line this up. Once I die cut it out, I will also die cut an additional 3 frames from white cardstock, and I'm going to be using that just to pop it up for dimension instead of using foam tape. This is how I use a lot of my scraps now. I'm just using it as foam tape, and I don't have to deal with trying to cut out the foam pieces to match exactly. And I'm gonna glue them all together so it creates that dimension. So I'm not gonna glue it to my main frame yet because I want to piece in the middle part. First, I'm gonna go ahead and put the panel onto my cream cardstock, and I like to use double-sided adhesive because I remove a corner of the release paper, place it down, and make sure that like I have it all straight, it's not crooked, and then I'll remove the rest of the release paper. And that kind of ensures that my panel will be straight. It's not foolproof, but it helps. I'm piecing the puzzle together so I have that middle area exactly where it needs to go, and then I'll pop that main frame out, and then I'll glue it to the stacked 3 frames that I already had glued together. For the sentiment, I'm stamping it on the same cream cardstock. I'm going to cut it out into a rectangle and pop it up on a few pieces of cardstock as well. I don't use foam tape for this at all. I'll just insert the frame and it fits in just like a puzzle. To finish off this card, I will be adding the sentiment and then some bling. And I'm using the new Misty Tea ruler, which I really love. I like it, but then I kind of don't. So my original tea ruler is like 12 inches and this one is 6 inches, which is great. But there's so many markings on it that I find it distracting. Then I started realizing that the markings were kind of useful for being able to kind of see if things are straight, if it's like popped up on dimension. So like the frame is popped up on dimension here, and I was able to use the markings to look through and then see it's lined up because it can't like kind of butt up against the cardstock on the side, if that makes sense. But it was useful. Anyway, finished it off with bling, and that is my card for today. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time with another video. Bye!